Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe back with another episode of the Strafing Run, and today we are going to continue to discuss Star Wars Battlefront, except this time maybe take a look at the pricing of the title and its expansions, of course, considering the Season Pass. But I have a special guest, the one and only Bombadil of No Guts, No Galaxy. Hello.
Hey, how you doing? You're always calling me special, and I don't know how I should take that.
I'm just trying to make you feel good about yourself.
All right.
Somebody has to.
Yes, somebody does. Star Wars and pricing. Boy, you didn't want to pick anything controversial or anything.
No, not at all. This one seems to continue to be a hot topic, and I don't know if it's ever going to die down, at least maybe until after the game comes out and people decide it's good or it flops.
Or otherwise,
you know?
yes.
Yeah. Obviously, there are a lot of people talking about this. I wanted to put in my 2 cents, and you and I have been talking about it, so I figured let's just do it in a strafing run. So,
sounds like a good plan.
I've got the origin page open, and so there's 3 editions of this game available now. They just added the 3rd one, which they're calling an Ultimate Edition, but I think that there's also some confusion as to what that means. But so, Standard Edition, $59.99. Now, we're not going to talk about regional pricing. Obviously, the game can be more expensive in other parts of the world. I don't know what goes, I don't know what goes into that. I don't know why that is, really. It stinks. I wish that it was, somehow even all over, but
it's not the game's fault. That's the important part.
Yeah, so won't be really delving too much into that. We're just kind of going to keep focused on the North American pricing because that's all I know about, really. So, $59.99, $60 is generally considered AAA game, brand new release pricing for most titles. Call of Duties, Assassin's Creed, Witcher, all big name games are all $60 for a basic edition. And that's been that way for a very long time. And I think that started with console games because as far as I remember buying PC games in the 90s to 2000s and so on, most games, I want to say, brand new, maybe $39 to $49. You didn't pay more than that unless it was some sort of special edition or collector's edition. And really, we didn't start getting collector's editions until much later, I feel. Do you feel that that's right as far as not going too far over 40?
For whatever reason, I have 50 stuck in my head, but you're probably closer. You're closer to 40, 50. We were talking about that the other day, and just remember walking into those game stores, going down the aisle, picking up those boxes, feeling how heavy they were.
Gigantic boxes they were heavy, some of them.
Yes, they were.
They had big manuals, posters, whatever, all this stuff in there.
Everything they could stuff in it. And
you felt like you got your money's worth because there was physical, product in there. And I remember taking the manuals to school, and reading them and probably studying more on, specifically funny that you're here, actually. I've probably mentioned this to you before, but specifically taking the MechWarrior 2 manual to school and just reading. I remember reading it on the bus.
I remember, manuals were such a big thing, and even third-party manuals were super popular. So you'd go in and you'd look at the books they have at the game store, and there'd be all these, basically more detailed, maybe better laid out, better thought out manuals by third parties. Loved those. Couldn't get enough manuals, man.
So that's the thing. We're looking at this price point, and I seem to recall $60 being normal for Xbox. When Xbox One came out, and then we started getting into the console war between Xbox and PlayStation and Nintendo. I remember console games being $60. There was that extra $10, which I believe had a lot to do with licensing fees.
Right.
Extra money that went towards the console manufacturer. And then later on, PC games, digital PC games specifically, like games on Steam, where you got no extra product and there was no console fee associated, those games for some reason also started becoming $60. We started seeing that extra $10, and I really didn't know why, other than maybe it was the console games are 60, well, PC games might as well be as also. Again, I'm no expert on the matter, so it just seems like since consoles were doing it, why not just charge more for these hot PC titles? So anyway, this price should not be a shocker to anybody, regardless of what's in the game. It's by DICE. EA's pushing it out. It's a hot ticket. It's going to be $60. So I don't really think that anybody's arguing that price at this point, even though I suppose we could. Now,
well, considering mid-90s, you're looking at $40 to $50, and here it is 2015.
They could be more.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah, I mean, and I even remember Super Nintendo games sometimes were marked up in like old KB toy stores. I don't know if those were all over the country, but
yes,
I remember. Yeah, sometimes you'd go in, a Super Nintendo game was $70 back when that console was hot, right. And you'd be like, "What?" I mean, so
the hard thing to determine, because we're not economists, is like what the standard inflation should be and how that's reflected or whatever. But yeah, it seems $60 seems pretty reasonable.
Yeah, again, it could be a lot worse. So there's that. We're used to that. I think now the question is being raised when we click on the deluxe edition, which goes up an extra $10. What are we getting? And is it worth? First of all, let's actually go back. Everybody's getting, if you pre-order the Battle of Jakku, which is...
I can't wait for that.
Yeah, which is an additional map, which we've seen a little bit of in the Force Awakens trailer, the second one, with the crashed Star Destroyer in the X-Wing.
I hope that Star Destroyer is in the background, man. That will make a beautiful map.
I imagine it would be.
Yeah, that's a pretty iconic shot already.
So yeah, I mean, it could be cool. I'm guessing it has a lot to do with Walker Assault. It says 2 maps set on the all-new planet. You're getting 7 days early access to it. This is something that we'll all get anyway. It's probably... So if there's a crime being committed here, maybe that it's already done. It should probably just be in the game as is. I don't know. 2 maps. As far as anything else here, it's all in the description. You're going to get this anyway, regardless of pre-ordering. So you could say you don't have to pre-order. The next thing, though, with the deluxe edition... Instant access to Han's Blaster, Ion Grenade, and Ion Torpedo. These are things that you can obviously get without buying the deluxe edition. Some of these things perhaps you can get by simply playing a match or two. Especially, I know the Ion Grenade we saw in
easy to get the Ion Grenade. We have no idea how difficult it's going to be to get Han's Blaster.
Yeah,
was the Ion Torpedo in there? I think it was in there, but
I don't know because I didn't fly a lot because I was terrible at flying.
Yeah, so
definitely not Blaster though. We didn't see that.
But the main point is it's not exclusive. Everybody will get access to it eventually.
The only things that are exclusive are the Ion Shock emote and the Victory emote, which I guess looks like the Stormtrooper getting electrocuted, perhaps, and then the Victory kind of fist in the air thing.
Yeah.
Not... I mean, it's... Okay, $10. I don't know. $10 to me is not a lot, but is... For 2 emotes, it's kind of... I mean... I feel like, I'm actually bummed out because I like collector's editions that are, a fair value and well done. I collect World of Warcraft collector's edition because they're usually well priced and you get a beautiful art book, soundtrack, a mouse pad. You get a decent, nice box. The CDs, you usually get some like extra keys to give your friends or something for like testing or access to trial accounts and things like that. Blizzard has always knocked out a good collector's edition. I would have paid a little extra money for a nice Star Wars Battlefront collector's edition with a beautiful art book.
Oh, dude.
Some extra a poster, something like that. Like I would have paid for some physical goods for this game.
How about a replica DEL-44 blaster, man? You know how much I would have paid for that?
Well, yeah, that'd be going up
anyway.
into the hundreds, 200s, maybe even more. Well, a lot more, I would imagine. But, I would have paid... I remember somebody had a mock-up of, like, a PlayStation version that it came with, like, a Stormtrooper helmet. Full size. I would have probably, put some money into that kind of thing just because I'm a sucker for those types of props or replicas or whatever. But, so we get this chintzy deluxe edition. It's all digital crap. I can't say I'm impressed. But there it is. So really, it's nothing that you have to buy. All right.
If you have $10 that you just don't care and you want to get a couple of emotes that everybody else
really,
isn't gonna have.
I guess it's for the emotes. Are the emotes going to be cool enough that you're going to... And when can you use them? Can you use them at any time? Is it at the end of the match? I don't understand really how they work.
Yeah.
Because I don't think the other games by DICE had emotes that I know of. But The only time I know of emotes being in use is sometimes at the end of matches when you have smaller scale games where you show the winning team and then there's people there sitting there doing something.
GTA 5.
Yeah, maybe some stuff like that.
The end of those missions. But they don't do that really in the
I don't know. I know Hawken did it. I know some other I'm trying to think of other games that did it. Blacklight Retribution. But next we get to, I think this is where people are getting confused. The Ultimate Edition just came out, and you can see it's $120, so people are freaking out, right? And it includes the Season Pass. The thing where I think there's some confusion is people don't understand that you can get the Season Pass on its own for $49. So people are, some people, not all, are thinking that the only way to get the Season Pass is to get this Ultimate Edition. And so they're feeling like, well, wait a minute.
And maybe people are meant to be led in that direction. But
perhaps they're not very clear here.
Yeah.
Now, if we go digging, if we type in Star Wars, just even typing in Star Wars, the third selection is Star Wars Battlefront Season Pass.
Yes.
Separately priced at $49.99. Now, I'm not shocked by the fact that there was an announcement of a season pass. Are you?
Nope.
Okay, because
Battlefield, anyone?
Why? Battlefield 3 did one. Battlefield 4. They had something called Battlefield Premium, I think, at the time.
Yeah.
Which was their season pass. Call of Duty's been doing this. I think Witcher even now does this. There's a lot
pretty standard.
Season passes have become normal. Now, let's go back in time again. We had things called expansion packs for games. Some of my favorite ones come from the Clancy Rainbow Six series. You'd buy your normal game, let's say $49.99. Then there, maybe later on, if the game was successful, a company would come out with an expansion pack to add on to the core game without doing a sequel. And this expansion would usually be less than the core title. The expansion would maybe be 30, maybe even 20, 15, 20, 30, depending on the game. Depending on what was in the expansion pack. I feel like 30, sometimes 10 less, maybe even 20. I don't know if you ever really bought into expansion packs back
here
then.
and there. No, not really back then.
But they existed. They were rare. Usually, maybe sometimes. I think with the Rainbow Six games, the original ones we're talking about here, before Ubisoft kind of mucked them up. I think Rainbow Six would have sometimes 1 or 2 expansions. I remember Ghost Recon 1 had like a desert and jungle expansion that added new maps and a couple new weapons, some camouflage patterns to your uniforms and things like that. Really good bang for the buck back then. But I think those ones were even cheaper. They were actually very inexpensive. I want to say, gosh, I should have looked that up. That would have been the smart thing to do. But $15, $20 maybe or less. Nice expansion packs there. Here we are at $49.99, which was kind of the old price of a video game that we were talking about, and not that far away from being, a full price of a game. But what are we getting? Well, here's the problem. We don't really know. The only thing we can do is assume that it's similar to what we got from Battlefield, which is usually...
All we know is 4 upcoming expansion packs.
4 upcoming packs. Which usually means
with
maps.
New content.
Definitely maps.
Yes.
But how many, we could look at Battlefield 3 and 4 and guess.
And early access. You do get 2-week early access to each expansion pack.
And the shoot first emote.
Yep.
Do you have to be sitting for that one?
Don't forget that. I don't know, man.
See, because if it's shoot first, there's one person that I know shot first. Lucas.
Seriously, man.
Never.
So yeah, it's kind of vague. We know it's 4 expansion packs, but what's in there? All we have to do is draw from previous titles and what they had. We have an idea, but definitely don't have the details.
So there's another crime being committed there. You need, if you're gonna ask for money, then pony up some details. Let us know what we're paying for. I would definitely agree that that's something that needs to be done. And the other issue, I think, for the longest time with DLC expansions and things like that in later years has been, are these things already done? Do they already exist, and have they just been sliced up for more money? Which seems to be a trend that's existed in the past few years. We don't know if these things are just sitting there, waiting to be played, but are just going to be sold for a higher price at a later date. It's possible. We don't know for sure, though. It's also possible that these are just conceptualized and they have the plans for them. And it's like, well, we know we're going to make an expansion. It's just that it's not going to be ready yet, and we'll release it, during the year. And so here it is.
Yeah, I tend to give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm, too generous, but I kind of feel like they're probably in the theoretical stage, or at least well-planned stage, but just not developed yet.
Right. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, they have had a long time to develop this game, so it is kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah, because that's the other thing, is that unlike the Battlefield franchise, which has been pushed out each year to compete with Call of Duty, Disney, I believe, had some say in the release date for this, because they were only allowed to release it a month before the movie, and that was kind of a restriction placed by Disney. So it was actually good for DICE because they had more time to polish up the title.
Yep.
So
or to simplify it.
Yeah, I guess it's $50, and so again, we were talking about the price of old expansion packs were about $30. So again, really, if this expansion has 4 packs, what would the bare minimum? 1 map, and then some, maybe, I don't know how many weapons of their own that they're going to add, because we obviously we know of weapons that are from the movies and vehicles from the movies. What else could they potentially be adding? What are the size of the maps? Are they 8v8 maps? Are they 40-player maps? Again, so we can't really judge the price yet. The only thing I can suggest to people is just simply don't buy it yet. Really, it's as simple as that until we have more information. But again, for $50, considering what expansions did cost in the past, it's not that bad.
Plugging in some inflation, and it's not bad. Could be better. It's not bad.
Yeah, so again, it really just depends on how many maps. If it's a decent amount of maps and weapons, maybe vehicles, then that's not outrageous. And I'm not shocked by the existence of a season pass, which it seems like people are like, oh my goodness, they introduced a season pass. Where have you been? Like, it's DICE, it's EA.
Playing free-to-play games or something.
Of course they're going to do it. I mean, we knew that they were going to do a season pass. They've been doing it, and people keep buying them. So that's the way this whole thing works.
To me, the whole season pass thing was just as much of a shocker as discovering that this Battlefront wasn't anything like the previous Battlefront titles, in which that it wasn't a surprise at all to me.
And I think that, again, is the biggest problem, is had they not called it Battlefront, we would really have no right to complain about anything, because, DICE is making a game called Star Wars, I don't know, Ground Assault or something. Name it something. Combined Arms, I don't know. They could have, but they used it for marketing and hype building reasons, and that's the biggest mistake. Now, would the game have been successful had they not done that? I think so, because you would see it, you would play it. It's DICE, right? It's got that kind of DICE reputation, even though, let's face it, I'm not a huge fan of Battlefield 4, and a lot of the Battlefield games before, after 2142, minus maybe Bad Company 2. So the thing is, what is the same? The issue is, like nothing. Call of Duty hasn't been the same in years. Battlefield hasn't been the same in years. Name a game that's been the same as the originals that we love. But the issue is, of course, just carrying over that brand, that franchise. And had they called it something else, maybe we wouldn't have, once again, like I said in my last strafing run, the expectation.
But I'm also wondering, ultimately, like, we don't know the numbers. The marketing department might be jumping up and down in glee right now because controversy creates people paying attention, creates more sales. I wonder how many people that are complaining about the $50 extra are still buying it. So I don't know. Maybe, or the controversy is good, maybe it's not.
Well, that's the thing, too. I think there's always going to be people that are going to be grumpy about it and be upset about, where Battlefront is, and they're still going to buy it because they couldn't help but have fun playing the beta, or what I like to call demo.
Yes.
And we went in as skeptics. We were worried, but you can't help but have fun. And yes, I talk a lot about new game smell. I talk about Star Wars fan bias. Of course, those things are going to exist. And we don't know how good or bad the game is going to be until it comes out and we play the full thing and we decide whether it was worth $60. I think our biggest concern is how many of the maps are large maps. Like, we're not necessarily huge fans of the 8v8 or 6v6 ideas and the smaller scale maps that they might be coming out with, but we'll try them and see if maybe Capture the Flag, their version of Capture the Flag, which is I think called like Capture the Cargo or something.
Right,
maybe
cargo.
It will be fun. Who knows? I mean, we used to play those games all the time in the 90s, like those small scale team deathmatch games. But
what was the name of the smaller map in the demo?
It was I don't know. It was called, did they call it Drop Zone?
Yes, Drop Zone. I didn't
play it
play
enough.
it enough.
On the planet Solus or something.
I started getting into it right towards the tail end of it being over, the open access or whatever.
It wasn't horrible, but
right. No, it wasn't. It had its issues, people spawning behind you or whatever, but obviously you get used to that. But my point I was going to make is, we don't know what the maps are going to be. I had a ton of fun on Hoth. To me, that was an epic experience. Like I was telling you in your video you did a couple days ago, that moment when you turn around and the walker gets blown up and falls down on the ground right in front of you, the whole ground shakes. Just like epic moments. I had a ton of them. Really enjoyed the Hoth mode. I hope that there's more maps like that. I don't mind there being a variety of maps, but I definitely hope there's more than just Hoth.
Of course. Well, I think we know a few of the maps that are going to have Walker Assault. We know Endor is going to have a Walker Assault.
Yes.
We saw that in a trailer. So we can expect there to be a fairly sizable Endor map. I would imagine with these images of the Battle of Jakku that there's going to be a Walker Assault.
It seems
on that.
like it.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a decent amount of Walker Assault maps, which I think will address most people's concerns. There's not necessarily space battles, but we do have atmospheric flight combat.
Right.
But again, guys, I want Battlefront 3 as much as everybody else, and I would have even taken Star Wars with a Battlefield feel. But I can't deny that there's just a decent game here that will be fun. I'm just ignoring the Battlefront name, but I think a lot of people just don't want to let go of that, and they're seeing like some sort of injustice here. And I will agree to a certain extent, but on the flip side, I know that the game's going to do well, whether I give them money or not, and because it's Star Wars and it's DICE, and because no matter what, even if it's dumbed down or simplified or whatever, it's still just fun. And if you're smiling when you're playing it a decent percentage of the time, then is it a bad game? I mean...
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I totally would have taken the next Battlefront. Absolutely. I'll still take it if they want to do one after this. And, Star Wars, a Battlefield with Star Wars skins, sure. But this as a game, I was smiling the majority of the time. The few times I wasn't yelling because I was getting my ass kicked. But I was having a great time. And the way I kind of measure, whether a game is worth it is I figure a movie for 2 hours, $20, $10 an hour. Of course, that's rounding, obviously. But, if I get $120 worth, so that'd be 12 hours out of this, I already have. So it's going to be worth it to me. I'm going to get a lot of entertainment, whether it's the best Star Wars game ever imaginable, whatever. I'm going to enjoy the game a lot. It was a really good Star Wars experience, and I expect more of the same. Does that mean it will be? No, of course not. So we'll see, but I sure hope it is.
I think that's the way I look at things, too, is that, what you put your money down on something, and how much time did you get out of that, We could talk about MMOs and monthly fees and things of that nature as well. IMAX tickets, movie tickets in general, buying a meal, were you satisfied with that meal, How much, if you, and I talked about this a little in the last strafing run as well, what is $60? What do you expect out of $60? If you play Battlefront for a month, is that worth $60 if you play it for 2 months? How about if you play it for 6 months? Game development is expensive. We know this.
Yes.
A lot of time, a lot of effort does go into it. Even simplified and dumbed down versions of what we might be seeing today, we cannot deny that it is expensive, and a lot of effort still goes into animating a stormtrooper or doing, a blaster bolt firing and net code and all this stuff. It is costly, and again, I'm shocked that the prices of games isn't even more. Thank goodness it's not, but
yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty reasonable. As long as I, like I said, enjoy the rest of the game as much as I've enjoyed what we've had so far.
My recommendation, to get this out of the way,
Yes.
is that for most people that are questioning a lot of these prices, I agree with you. Some of these prices are stupid for what you're getting. I'm not a huge fan of this. Again, I would have paid good money for a nice collector's edition with an art book. There's got to be some great conceptualization. DICE is a talented developer. We know at the core they're good at what they do, given the time. There's got to be some great concept art that they could have thrown into a book. Maybe they're going to sell a separate book. Possibly it's another way to make money off of a separate book. Possibly. Maybe there's one already and I don't know about it. But yeah, these extra editions, they're kind of, this deluxe edition, it's disappointing. My recommendation, get the standard edition. Nobody has to pre-order. Here's another tip. There's places like Green Man Gaming, which sell the same games. And Green Man Gaming is well known for offering on a regular basis, usually every week, they have 20% off voucher codes. You can sometimes apply. Now, I don't know if you can apply it to the pre-order of Battlefront. It's possible. Look into it. But you can wait. You can go to Green Man or some other distributor and maybe even get the game for less than $60. So... really,
and the bottom line is, you're not going to have to make an uninformed decision. There's already so much content out there, and as soon as the game launches, all the other maps and game modes, there will be content out there, and you can decide, is the DLC worth it?
And
the season pass.
Origin does have its newer Great Games guarantee, which means that you can, of course, return the title within a certain period of time. You can't keep it for like 2 weeks and then return it. I think it counts down your hours. I don't really know 100%, but I think it's something like you play for a certain period of time and then you can refund it within, I think it's within 72 hours. Something like that. 24 to 72 hours. You can play it, check it out. If you don't like it, you can get a refund of a digital product, which I think Steam just now started doing, which other people have been doing for a while. So there also is that option if you want to just get yourself into the standard edition. Now, and again, yes, we wanted Battlefront 3. Yes, we wanted more of this game. I'm especially bummed out that we don't have dedicated server support, which as a PC gamer for so many years, I've always talked about having a community server for my channel. It's never panned out because there's never been a game great enough for me to want to invest in such a cost. Would have been nice to have a SideStrafe Battlefront server, and I can't. Does it mean the game's going to be horrible? No, not necessarily, as long as the matchmaking system works properly. But if there's things to complain about, it's usually stuff like that. That's where I feel we're usually moving backwards. Other than that, I mean, I feel like there perhaps are certain individuals that are maybe getting a little too bent out of shape over things that are just common practice in today's day and age that aren't going anywhere. You could say vote with your wallet. You can, don't buy this, don't pre-order. But, well, nothing's changing so far because there aren't enough people voting with their wallets. They're just, and I don't think there ever will be enough to stop these things.
An issue there, like, of course, we've said the things that over and over again, I think, that are important, which is, yes, we all wanted another Battlefront, the next Battlefront. We don't have it. We have to deal with it. And maybe something will come in the future. But as we both know, ranting can be very popular. And I just wonder sometimes how many of these ranters are still buying it. And it's I think it's this quest for the ultimate perfect game or whatever. I don't know in this corporate era if we're ever going to be able to see that, where even small indie developers are essentially bought out by corporations. I don't know. It's the quest for the perfect game is a frustrating one. We're all on that same quest. But again, you just kind of have to determine your own value and what you think is worth it and whether or not the game is going to provide it. Like I said before, you can make a completely informed decision. You can do the research. I totally agree with you. Standard edition is the way to go. Who cares about a couple of emotes? I don't, and I'm obviously a Star Wars fanboy. So get the standard edition. Wait and see on the season pass. There's going to be a lot of content out there on your channel.
Yeah, I'm going to cover it. If you're curious, you don't want to spend the money, I'm going to, I think in my Strafing run I said I'm going to try to cover each, I'm going to jump in each mode. I'm going to even play Capture the Flag. You'll be there joining me. We'll play Team Deathmatch mode. We'll play every little mode. We'll try to figure out what's good and what's not. And we'll try to help people make informed decisions. I had fun. You had fun. There's always going to be frustrations. There's always going to be like, why is that guy got 1 billion kills? And, in this game, why can't I do that? But at the end of the day, when Luke Skywalker, I saw a video recently of somebody, he was Luke Skywalker, and there was a stormtrooper on this mountain, and he force pushes the stormtrooper into a TIE fighter as it's flying by. The TIE fighter explodes, and it's like that, and it's stuff like that you laugh, and even if it was you, I remember the first time I got killed by Luke, I laughed.
Yes,
because it's Star Wars, and even though I consider myself to be quite a fan, I don't take it seriously to the point of like, well, he wouldn't have actually been able to jump that many feet. Actually, with his amount of Jedi training, he shouldn't have been able to actually accomplish it. I don't take it as seriously as I would take like a tank simulation game. So I can separate the thing, and I can look at it like, well, I'm last place, but I sure as hell had fun being last place. And I'm trying to get more into that state of mind with games as I get older, because I know, they always say you can't teach an old dog new tricks, and I think you have to maybe just try more the older you get sometimes.
Yes,
and really
story of my life, man.
Yeah, I know that I'm guilty of ranting and raging at things, and I want to try to open my mind more and enjoy things. Again, the biggest crime here, it's called Battlefront. They shouldn't have called it Battlefront. Maybe it was marketing genius. Maybe they, like you said, have numbers that say, well, by calling it Battlefront, we've sold 1 million more copies.
Right.
Maybe that's the case, and I just don't know. But the right thing to do would have been to call it something else. That way nobody would have any place to complain and say, oh, well, it's just DICE is making this game, and it's Star Wars.
Yeah, I think there's totally a time and place for ranting and for being critical. I hope we don't ever see rant strafe go away or anything like that. But
as long as Gaijin Entertainment continues to exist, I think he'll stick around.
No worries. Yeah, but I think, again, with every game, and like you said, if this was a tank sim, you'd be different. But every game, you've got to look at it at your own value, what it's going to be worth to you. And I've determined that the $60 I've already spent, well worth it. And I assume that the $50 I'm going to spend is going to be as well. Yeah. Based on the experience we've had.
So I think that about covers it. Again, choose wisely when looking at these price points. We currently recommend you go with the standard edition. We want to play on day one, so we also probably want to have access to these Battle of Jakku maps. So we'll probably pre-order just to get in as soon as possible. I'm going to use the whole I'm a YouTuber excuse, and I want to be able to bring you coverage. So let's just say that's a reason. And and
I want to support your endeavors, so
yeah.
That's
so
be my
I need Bombadil support, so I need him to buy the game and get in there with me. All right,
if you insist.
Twisting my arm. So we'll get in there and we'll spend the money so you don't have to, and you can check out some high quality videos. As far as the other stuff, again, check out Green Man Gaming. See if they've got a 20% off voucher to maybe shave some dollars off of that $59.99. I know it is on Green Man. I just don't know if they've got any coupons for it, because it is a pre-order. It might be different. I know later on usually they have sales and things like that. That's about it. Again, yeah, we're not happy with the Digital Deluxe. The Season Pass, we don't know. It stinks that there's no info on it. They should provide you info if you're going to sell something. We're not for these practices, but again, considering price points of the past, we're not surprised, and it could technically be worse. It could be more expensive. So
I always love that excuse. It could be worse.
In this case,
but it's true.
I think so. Yeah. I don't really see. I mean, there's. What? I mean, what else can they do? I guess. I mean, force us to buy an edition that comes with a statue that we might not want, which is what some developers do. Is they kind of they.
As far as physical goods too, there may be all kinds of issues as far as who can produce physical goods, and I don't know. Yeah, but who knows? Again, this game to me is just going to come down to whether or not we have fun and enjoy it, and that's the bottom line. What were you going to say about physical goods?
No, I mean, you might be right, because I think there's well, I know Fox has certain I think they have ownership of the original trilogy for a certain period of time, which is why Disney's not able to re-release like the original versions of the films. So I don't know, but yeah, I mean, who knows? We don't know who has the rights to produce actual physical
I do know that stuff can get pretty messy sometimes. So,
yeah, I mean, just coming from BattleTech and MechWarrior and all that stuff, yeah, I'm sure that it can get pretty crazy. But yeah, again, guys, just choose wisely. Don't overspend on things that you don't think that you'll need. And if you've got the money, if you don't think $10 is a lot. But again, the Ultimate Edition, just to save anybody from being completely confused, it's not required to get the season pass. You can get it separately, completely separate, if you so choose. And really, yeah, I think that's all we got for today. Any final thoughts, Mr. Bombadil?
I'd still love to get my DL-44 blaster replica.
I saw that,
and you'd like your Stormtrooper helmet.
Oh man! I knew that you would want that.
Since I was a kid, that gun has been an icon. I mean, it just looks so cool.
I would imagine somebody makes. I mean, there's replicas out there. Have you ever considered getting a real one?
Of course I have. Yeah, a real one. A replica? Yes, I have considered it. I have not done it.
One day, perhaps.
When you get your full-size Star Wars or Stormtrooper outfit, I'll do.
I gotta jump on that one day. Eventually, we'll see. But, ladies and gentlemen, really hope that you've enjoyed today's episode of the Strafing Run. Of course, more on the way. Special thanks to Mr. Bombadil for joining me. I will have links down below to NoGutsNoGalaxy.net and all the shenanigans that he and Phil are a part of, because I tend to work with these guys from time to time.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, I know. It's been rough. I've been depressed. But we'll have some Battlefront for you with Bombadil. Maybe Phil will join us. We'll see. But again, with that, thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.